Okay, so in this video I'm just going to be talking a little bit about support cards and why they're so interesting mechanically, as well as a potential issue with them that I have noticed. So first off, support cards, what are they? There are two types basically. The first type is the one with a limited number of uses, so an example of this could be Skirmisher's Elixir right here. 4 mana, 3 uses, activate with its effect. Basically you can only use one use per turn, so you could use this on turn 4, turn 5 and then turn 6, and then it would expire, so to speak. So as well as the uses limited type of support card, you've also got the permanent type, such as Spider Lair. Let's see the other types. So this is a ongoing effect, which once you pay your 7 mana, at the start of every turn after that, if it doesn't get destroyed, you get a random spider, and these spiders range from a 1-1 with guard, a 1-1 with, lethal, and a 1-1 with shackle a random creature on its summon. So what is so interesting about these support cards is that they, especially the ongoing ones, the permanent ones, have huge late game potential in a grindy matchup. Or not so much grindy, but just a slower matchup. If you can afford to take the immediate tempo loss of playing a support card, such as Spider Lair, say, or even Thieves' Den or Hidden Trail or whatever, if you can survive the next few turns, you're often in a winning position, because every turn you get this effect. Another good example would be Divine Fervor, seen in pretty much every Spellsword token deck at the moment, for good reason of course. Yeah, once you get this effect up and running, you're in a fantastic position. And this can be seen at the moment on ladder, where if you face a Spellsword, which is willpower and endurance combination, token Zooey style of deck, and they get the absolute nut start, so they get a 1-drop into a 2-drop into a, say, Elixir of Magicka into Divine Favor, and then into Imperial Reinforcements. There's very few decks in the game that can actually deal with that, because that's like a super powerful start. And from that start they can dictate trades, they can control the board quite optimally because they're using tokens, and so can distribute their damage very precisely, which is just an advantage of that style of token deck. Yeah, so if you face against a Spellsword deck and they get this absolute nuts draw start, you would have to have a similarly impressive mid-game to contest that. Not saying it's impossible to fight against it, it clearly is possible, or it would be nerfed into the ground, you would hope, but yeah, it's a very powerful opening some of the time if they get it. And this is just one of the powers of and strengths of ongoing effects. So once they've played their Divine Fervor, they're in a fantastic position for the rest of the game. And you will notice in the games where they don't get Divine Fervor, they are in such a worse position than they otherwise would have been. So Imperial Reinforcements, instead of 4 2/2s, you get 4 1/1s. Literally half the power, as the most extreme example. And so when they do get Divine Fervor, then they're in a much better spot, as you would expect. Similarly, if by chance, not that I expect many people to be playing Spider Lair, if you get Spider Lair off turn 7 and you survive the next few turns, you're in a fantastic position. So yeah, those are my thoughts on support cards at the moment, but a potential issue with them is that whilst they aren't that powerful at the moment, the instant a super refined support card late game deck becomes popular, well, not so much popular, but becomes a thing, so to speak, the fact that there are very few ways to control support cards could be an issue. So the most obvious way, and most widely accessible way for every deck to use, potentially, to control a support card is Vicious Dra, which is 4 mana 3/4, destroy a support card. But if you don't expect to face against a support deck, which would definitely be the case when first time this deck kind of gets experimented with on ladder, you could potentially, in the late game, if you're trying to play another slow deck, you could get ground into the ground, that's terrible English by the way, never say that, by all the permanent effects. So this could easily bog down all your big powerful late game creatures with the lethal spider, with the guard spider blocking a turn of damage, with the shackle spider. Like, this could be so annoying in the late game, especially if you suspend your disbelief. Imagine if you get 2 spider layers, or hell, even 3 up and running at the same time. Like 3 spiders with random effects but powerful effects every turn is nuts. There's very little you can do against that, to be honest. Even if you are running a copy of Vicious Dra, chances are you would only use 1 copy of that card, unless a support-based deck was all over the ladder, running rampant. So even if you destroy the first copy of this, such a late game support deck would run all 3 copies, chances are. And so you would still get ground into the ground again. This lack of interactivity can be seen in the fact that there's only 2 other cards that can interact with support cards, Edict of Azure and Shadowfen Priest. Now what I like about these 2 cards, compared to Vicious Dra, is that these 2 cards have sort of a base body with an additional choice attached to it. So a 5 mana 4/4 is obviously bad, but then you can choose to silence a creature or destroy a support card. So this card is so flexible that pretty much every endurance deck has a good reason to run 3 copies of it, and likely will run at least 1 copy of it because it's that good. So if we look at Edict of Azure, again it's a 4 mana removal spell with the additional effect of choose to maybe destroy a support card. So these cards are really cool because they have a base effect which is appreciatively useful, such as silence or destroy a creature, but they also have the controller support card effect attached to it as an extra. Whereas compared to Vicious Dra, you would only run this if you suspected or you wanted to hedge against a powerful support card. And every time that you didn't get to play this against a support card, it would be infinitely worse than every other 4-drop available to you, as it's just a vanilla 4 mana 3/4. Very understated and, not to mention, boring. So yeah, the fact that there's so little interaction options with these support cards could be a potential problem going into the future of this game, and I do hope they release more cards similar to Shadowfen Priest, similar to Edict of Azure, and less cards which are just hard counters like Vicious Dra. Those are just my thoughts on support cards. Obviously at the moment, other than Spellsword token decks using Divine Fervor and maybe, you know, super aggressive red decks, support cards aren't really going crazy on ladder, and so you don't have to worry about them, and so this is just a non-issue. But in the future, when a deck gets finalized that can use, say, Spider Lair or Thieves' Den or whatever to the maximum advantage, that deck will be terrifying for decks who have no way to control a support card, and so there is some potential for abuse. But those are just my thoughts. Hope you found this interesting. I do love support cards and I'm very glad that they exist in the game, but I do believe the lack of interactivity could potentially be an issue in the future. But that will be all for today. Hope you found this interesting. Thank you so much for watching as always. If you liked the video or the topic, feel free to drop a like. If you want to have a little chat, drop a comment in the comment section below. And if you want to see more content like this on Elder Scrolls Legends, feel free to drop a sub, as I will be doing more on this game. Thank you so much for watching once again. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Ta-ta.